Let's tear down the Stanley Bailey No. 4 smoother. Well, in this video, we're going to discuss this hand plane, which is an excellent tool, but also the difference between this hand plane and this hand plane. Also, a Stanley No. 4. It's not a Bailey, no, but it is different in so many ways. It's also had some rather strange alterations. Now, I believe this hand plane is probably 1900 and something, early 1900s, whereas this one is post 1970, and this is my user. I use this a lot, and it's not hasn't been titillated or pimped up or anything at all, unlike my other hand planes. And I ain't painted it blue like I did this one, which is a Stanley Bailey No. 5. This is a wartime effort, and I love this plane. I really do. This used to be my father's, and it was in a hell of a state, and I've restored it into a usable state. I even upgraded the plane iron to a 3mm plane iron, which makes a massive positive change, but also causes a few issues as well, because the extra thickness causes problems with the little stirrup engaging with the plane iron or the chip breaker to actually engage the plane. So you have to allow for that. You can't always, not in all these hand planes, you can actually change to a No. 3. And over here we have a rapier. This is, I found from Gateshead, the rapier, and it's oh, it says on it's cast on its Gateshead, yeah. And this is a No. 4.5, a 450 they call it, but it's a 4.5. And it has a wider plane iron. It's about 60mm wide plane iron, whereas the standard No. 4, like this one here, is a 50mm wide plane iron. Now, what I'm mainly interested in is the difference between these two similar tools. The post-1970 plane iron does have a much bigger wheel adjuster here, in brass again, and it's pretty good. The machine is very nice. As soon as you remove the adjuster, the little stirrup moves instantly. But the slack in the stirrup to the chip breaker is what creates that play where you have to keep going to and fro to actually start engaging with the plane iron. That's not a problem though, is it really? It's just not here or there. This one here has a much smaller adjuster. The diameter of that adjuster is about an inch. So it's got an inch, about 25mm. Whereas this one is probably near 1.25 inches. It's 30mm. So yeah, about 1.25 inches. Having that extra diameter, the extra girth, it gives you more control. It does, and more power. So, because obviously it's bigger, it makes it easier to adjust the plane iron. Now this one has gone through 2 incarnations. One has been dropped, a big lump at the sole here. Now this was my father's, this was. I haven't done anything with it. Now my father was a boat builder, and he was a master craftsman. His work was fantastic, yet he did not look after his tools. They were just tools to him. Now, in my mind, the tool needs to be looked after so it can do a good job for you. That's how I feel about it. Whereas this one is being beaten to hell. It really has. Lumps out of there. The tote has got a rotten great split in it there. But it's amazing what you used to create with it. It really is. Now, the actual lateral adjusters is not original either. Let's have a look at that. Which will bring me on to another issue with it. Well, not issue, another difference with it. In comparison to this one. This lateral adjuster, I think my dad made it. Look at that. That is not a Stanley lateral adjuster. It looks like it's been bent out of a piece of old tin plate. It's not correct. You know, on the end here, that's just a bit weird, isn't it? So, that's obviously been changed, because if you compare it to like this one here, or any of the Stanleys, you have this little round bit on the end of the lateral adjuster, and it's made out of 2 flat pieces of steel, like so, and a little pivot point there, and it just works. It's simple, but it works. And it's the same with all these Stanleys. You know, this one here, this rapier, has more of a bent, but it's as it should be, but it's got this like pressed steel arrangement going on there regarding the lateral adjuster, but it works, you know, it works. It's not a bad hand plane. This one I've actually made into a scrub plane. I thought I'd remove a lot of material at once. To be fair, I'm looking at this now, and I'm thinking to myself, I might restore this back into a smoother, and that might end up being my go-to, because you've got the extra girth. And on the smoother, I think that could be really beneficial. I don't like the cap. It's got a screw cap on there, and it's pressed steel. Although it does its job, it works. I just don't like it. You know, it does feel actually a little bit Heath Robinson, a bit agricultural. Yeah, it's not the best, no. And the little knob head don't look like it's original because it doesn't fit into the sole properly. Now the sole, I don't know if you can see that, has quite a nice casting there actually, where it raises up to the actual knob itself, but the knob doesn't fit into it properly. So I don't think that knob is original at all. They can say that, nor was that one, but at least it works, it fits. So actually nor was that one either. What do I? Because I changed them, I graded them to suit me. Now I like my totes as well with the space for your fingers. Now the reason why I like this, now some people think I'm mad, but I like it because my hand always falls in exactly the same place every time. And you get that muscle memory. You know, it's repeatable, gives you repeatable results. Anyway, let's tear down this number 4. Now, we already took off the chip breaker, which was the chromed one, and we have the chip breaker, so the lever cap, and then we have the chip breaker and the plain iron assembly. I'm going to use the chip breaker, sorry, the lever cap, I get mixed up there, to remove or loosen the screws so I can separate the chip breaker from the plain iron. And you have this screw, large screw there. Be careful though, if you take it out too far, well obviously it's going to fall out. Now, that's one of the problems when you fit a large or thicker plain iron. The extra thickness removes some of your ability to, you know, the depth the screw will screw in, because obviously you've got the extra thickness of plain iron to deal with. So you've got to bear that in mind as well. So, you know, you might want to get a bit of 3mm ply, just check everything works still before you actually go out and buy a 3mm plain iron. Losing my voice I am already. I've got fibromyalgia and it affects my voice. So, okay, it has the lateral adjuster here. You have the stirrup or the yoke, which adjusts the plain iron via the actual chip breaker. It slots into a little slot there, and as it goes up and down, it adjusts the plain iron. Now, the problem when you fit a thicker plain iron like this, the taper here, where you adjust on here, your chip breaker ends up higher up the taper, and it's narrower, so you get it's more slack. So you need to, you know, you've got more to and fro, what's called a backlash on the actual adjuster. So this is a pressed steel chip breaker, which you must make sure that it's flat on the back here, so it marries up perfectly on the black back of your plain iron. Otherwise you're going to get stuff all stuck in the back of the actual chip breaker, and this won't work. It'll be a mess. So yeah, so that fits on there like so. Alright, so that's the plain iron and chip breaker assembly. Now on this one here, it's had a different chip breaker and plain iron installed. Now this plain iron is the same thickness. It's probably standard Stanley plain iron, very worn as you can see. If you think about that one in comparison to that one is, you know, I actually replaced this with an old one actually. That's not the original plain iron. Still Stanley, but it's not the original. Now this one, it's my father's, it's my dad's like, there's no meat on it at all, there's nothing left. He was a bit tight, to say the least. And the chip breaker assembly is actually a nice assembly. It's not like this bit of old pressed steel. It's a bit more like a Clifton chip breaker that you'd have in the. Now I've got on my with my Victor hand forged plain irons. My chip breaker here, which I believe is a Clifton, if I remember rightly. And they've got this Victor hand forged plain iron here with the 3mm again. Beautiful piece of steel. Actually tapers, actually, it's not 3mm all the way long. And this two-piece chip breaker. it just works nice. It's just nicer, you know. This one here is actually still Stanley. Was it Stanley? No, it was Record. It was Record. This is a Record stay set. Yeah, it says it on there. It's a Record stay set. And the patent is 362743. Now it says there, keep the grooves clean. You must. Otherwise, what happens is it won't sit flat. So you've got a little groove in there for that to sit into. Now, generally speaking, that don't normally come off. There's a little locating pin on there, like there is on this one. But this one, I don't know if you can see that, has, when I first got it, I just, can you see it? There's a little pin there, right? I've used a centre punch and actually panned it out a little bit so it grips this piece, because it's so easy. If you're, especially on site, what have you, you take it out to sharpen it and then that falls off and you lose it. It's not helpful. No. So I might do the same with that one. Actually, I hadn't bothered as yet because I don't usually use it. It's not my. It wasn't. Yeah, it was my father's. So now I'm thinking it may be, because that is a much better assembly to that one, that I might actually steal some parts of this one to put onto this one. So anyway, so that is the chip break assembly. It's got a Record assembly in a Stanley plane. Not a problem. It works. So it's not an issue. So that's going to sit on there like so. This has a much nicer lever cap as well. I'm not keen on nice, nasty, shiny chrome that all pits, as you can see on there. If you look at, say for instance, this one, it's more of a brushed steel effect going on there, and it just works. It's just nice. Well, I know aesthetics don't really matter, it's about how plain, you know, what it will do, how it will work. But it also helps if it makes you feel good when you're using, if you're proud of your tools and you look after them then, don't you, you know, instead of treating them like my dad did, you know. So that is a much nicer lever cap. There's three differences. See, this here, the taper on here is not the same as the taper on that one. Also, that is thicker at that point than it is at that point. This has more finesse. That's a bit kind. Oh, sorry, I think I see. That is a bit more heavy looking and a bit. Doesn't feel so good. It's just quality. I mean, that is definitely better quality. Yeah, Stanley certainly went downhill. Okay. Now, some of the best Stanleys are from the United States, but you know, that's how it is, isn't it? Now, post 1970, they changed the way they constructed these hand planes in the way the castings were done. And as such, they had to make the hand planes much heavier to cope with the fact they weren't seasoning the iron. Now, generally speaking, I've said this in the previous video, what they'll do is the castings will be made, they'll be dumped outside to do their thing, they'll be rattled about a few times outside, be moved onto another pile, left another month or so, rattled about again with a digger or a bucket or whatever, and just literally just look mess. All rusty and horrible, just a big mess. But what's happening is every time they're knocked, they're banged, they're bashed together, any tension in the iron that is just stored in the iron, well, it dissipates, and the iron, it's called seasoning, and the iron will basically settle down, and then they can grind it and machine it all up, and it'll stay machined for much, much longer. You have less need to actually do anything about it. Now, some of the more modern hand planes, what they've had to do to cope with that is add more iron into the sole to stop the sole from twisting and warping. Now, as such, this one is heavier than that one, you know, and this one here is a lot lighter than my other post 1970 number 5, which is one I bought years and years ago. Now, this one was my father's as well, and it was in a hell of a state, so I've, you know, refurbed it. It's a wartime effort, you can tell, because of the plastic knob. It's very hard plastic. It's not Bakelite, but it's almost like Bakelite, and it's like moulded around like a little brass trunnion or whatever you call it. I don't know. Anyway, so okay, that is the chip breaker. Sorry, that lever cap, and the where's the plane 970 gone for that one? What have I done with it? Oh, sitting in this plane. Okay, that's got going. That's it. They dropped it again. It's not great. So I think I'll do what I did with the other one, where I beat the little pin to hold the actual piece into place. So I'll beat that, put that on there like so, make sure it's clean, all polished up, ready to go, and I'll use it to centre punch and punch it, and that'll push it outwards and it'll hold him better. Now this one is considerably shorter. Now if I line up the back edge so you can see on the front edge, there's about 10mm difference in length. And also the mouth position is different. That's me lining the mouth up. That is longer at the front here. And the handle on this one, yeah, it's just different. The whole ergonomics of it is different as well. Strange. The other thing I've noticed is the angle of this frog is not the same as this one. That's strange. Well, about 44, 45 degrees. No, they're not. They're not the same. This one's steeper. This has a steeper angle than this number 4. It's the missus! Oh. Hello, darling. What's up, my sweetheart?
Oh, we were just doing some food and we didn't know whether you want a baguette or sandwich.
Oh, a baguette is a hand. People can't see your face. She's got a face. Yeah, she's got a head.
You might have to have a sandwich as well as a baguette because there's only 2 baguettes to go for.
Whatever's going on, I'm not fussed.
Ham in it?
I had ham yesterday and the day before.
Tuna?
Yeah.
Or cheese?
I'd want cheese.
So it's ham, tuna or cheese?
It feels like I've been in hospital and I'm having hospital food. In France, in hospital, you end up with ham sandwiches
bacon?
every day. I can cook the bacon, that's a good idea. That's easy. Jambon cru. Oh, just jambon cru, darling.
No, okay.
Don't need to cook it. Yeah, no, just, okay, whatever. That's lovely, thank you. These a little bit different. Anyway, let's take this apart, shall we? I think we should. Let's take it apart and I'll explain the components as we go. So you're going to need a screwdriver, ideally a broad, flat screwdriver like this one. And the first thing I'm going to remove is the frog. And there's 2 screws, one there and one there in the frog. So you loosen or remove those screws in this case. And the frog, don't worry about adjustment of the frog, because when you put it back, I'll show you why or how, the frog will end up being in exactly the same place it was when you removed it. So that is the frog with its 2 screws. So as you can see there. Right, and it looks like a frog. It's got like a frog face. So where's my magnetic dish? Oh, I ain't got one in there. I'll put them there. Keep them safe. I don't want to lose the washers and stuff. Now, the frog of this hand plane, post 1970, and it's older, I happen it's probably about 120 years old, that one has more referencing face than that one. Now, I don't think it makes any difference, to be honest. They're both adjustable frogs, but what this one doesn't have is an adjustment screw. Now, you've got the 2 screws there in the frog, but there's no adjustment screw in the back here. Now, if I show you this one, and the fact we've got this little piece of metal here, okay, that sits in this adjustment screw. So once you've got the adjustment screw set up, so your frog's in the correct position, when you place the frog back into the body of the hand plane, like so, and you line that pin up in that slot at the back here, it should be in exactly the same position as it was when you took it out. So it's a brilliant bit of design. But does it really matter? No, it doesn't. Because how often are you actually going to remove or adjust the frog? Hardly ever. It's not really that important. It doesn't really matter too much. Now, this one has that lateral adjuster. It's a flat steel lateral adjuster with a pressed piece at the back here, which is pressed into the lateral adjuster, and then we have this like wheel at the bottom here. It doesn't turn or anything. It's just I don't know if it's meant to or not. Actually, is it meant to turn? I don't think so. It looks like it's riveted on, so I don't think so. I don't need to turn anyway. It'd be a bit silly. Why do you need to turn? And then we have this yoke assembly on the frog, the stirrup. That piece there, which fits into the adjuster. Right, this is the 1/4 30mm adjuster. Now the thread here is not clockwise thread. Maybe it's a clockwise thread because you're screwing it down, screwing it in. But no, because the way the actual stirrup works here is actually reversing the direction, because the movement, you're reversing the direction of the movement. So if it wasn't a reverse thread, a left-hand thread on this screw, what would happen is as you try to tighten it down, you'll be literally loosening the actual. Oh, crikey, thank you, Dom. You'd be loosening the or retracting the plane iron. I'll get my worms out in a minute. So that's what would happen there. Now, this screw here is also removable, it's also adjustable. So when you're setting your plane iron and chip breaker assembly and the lever cap, you need that to be just the right tension. Now, it's obviously important, but you don't want it too tight. Too tight, you could end up breaking the lever cap. You could end up snapping it off here, especially on these later ones because the castings aren't so good. Right, they can snap literally along there. Now, I have actually got one where it's actually snapped here, across here. And that was on old Stanley Handyman hand plane, which was the first Stanley plane I ever had. It was a present when I was a kid. So the chip breaker assembly and the tension of that against this screw is important. I'll show you when we put the plane back together. Now, there are other issues when you're removing, or you want to restore it, you want to clean it all up, make sure it's all working nicely, maybe yours is a bit grubby or whatever. There are some things you need to think about. Because at the moment, this one has a nice solid tote and a nice solid knob, okay? Because I've kind of looked after it. You know, it's fairly original, but I have looked after it. Now, I want to remove the knob from the hand plane body. Because you've got all this crap built up underneath, you see. You've got to, clean it all out, remove all that. Make sure you lubricate everything. And in here, there's a screw. It's unusual thread. Well, it's an old, probably British standard thread. Now, this one, because I haven't actually removed it, they corrode, right? And that's, even though I have removed it before, can you see that? All that rust around there? Hope it's focused on, yeah, it is. It's all rusty. Now, at the moment, this screw feels like it's fixed onto there, but there's only the rust. That's a separate thing to that, right? Now, the problem with that is, what I will do is I'll get this on the wire wheel and clean this all up in a minute, because I don't want that to get worse. Because the problem is, your adjustment, at the moment you've got adjustment here, and you've got adjustment here to tighten it up, okay, when it goes into here. Now, your knob can shrink, alright, when you get older. Stop. Anyway, your wood can shrink when you get... Oh, crikey. Anyway, this could shrink as you get older. And, so, and as such, it becomes loose. Because you've got that screwed down as tight as it goes, and now there's room in between, and it can rattle between the nut and the screw and the base here, you see, the screw and the base. So you've got this movement, and it's very annoying. There are ways you can deal with that. So if you've got that screwed in as far as it goes and you can't got no adjustment, what you'll do is just grind a little bit off the end of that screw, and that gives you a little bit more movement to tighten up against the knob, or you won't be able to get away with, if that's not sticking out the top, put the washer behind there, and that'll give you a little bit more room as well. But as it is, that's flush, but I am going to give that I'm going to sort that out. If you do see that, deal with it as soon as you can, because all you need to do is get a pair of pliers on there, which I ain't got any on my bench, and then a pair on there, or a screwdriver, and just see if you can ease it. Lubricate, put a WD-40 on there first and see if you can separate them, and then clean that up with a wire brush, maybe coat of lacquer or grease or whatever, and then just put it back and you should be okay. But this one at the moment is gripping nicely. There's the same difference with the tote. Now on the number 4 Stanley Bailey's, the tote isn't actually, doesn't have a screw here. It has on this rapier, and it has on this number 5. But on the number 4 there isn't an extra screw. And that screw helps prevent that twisting motion. Obviously they feel it's not necessary with smooth because it's a lot shorter. So if I remove this screw, the tote will come away from the body, like so. You should be able to push it out of there and double check, make sure everything is okay. Now this one is actually in okay condition. It is seized on there, so I need to free that up. Okay, while you get it apart, do what needs to be done. Alright, now the twisting motion on this one's prevented because it's got this little node there for it to sit into a little hole in the bottom of that tote so it doesn't twist. Okay, it works, you know, does the job. So that's got to be screwed in there. I'll take it off again in a minute actually and clean those up so they don't corrode anymore. See, the thing is, humidity in your workshop gets trapped in all those little spaces in your tools, and then they rot, they rust, they corrode, they cause problems, right? So anyway, so that's the body of the hand plane on this 1970 Stanley Bailey No. 4. It has the frog adjustment screw there. I'm not going to take it out because it's in the right position. And then we have our frog, here's the right one, yeah, which has the larger thumb wheel there. You've also got the frog adjustment yoke there, and that sits nicely over the adjustment screw in there, just like that, if you can see that. And then you just tighten, well not tighten, you insert the two screws that you removed, if I can find them, because they seem to disappear already. Oh, there they are. Then you'll clean all this stuff up as you go. Yeah, it got all congealed and nasty crap in there, so I'm going to remove this. It takes all apart again in a minute, and we'll clean all them up. So I should be able to tighten it down, and the frog should be in exactly the same place, within reason, as it was when I actually took it off or removed the screws and removed the frog. I can't get my screwdriver in the slot. Well, there it goes. Da, 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 da. Right, get in there, you. Get in my belly. No, not exactly. There we go. I'm just going to check my. It looks okay. I'd say it's a little bit on the screw, so I'm just going to. There's a bit of slack, you see, in the adjuster. So you need to compensate for that. No, that's good. That's good now. Yeah, if you don't get the frog perpendicular with the sides or the cheeks of your hand plane, what will happen is you'll find that you're going to need a lot of lateral adjustment to compensate. And you don't want to overcompensate. Ask the missus, she knows. Right, so I'm going to align the chip breaker with the plane iron, and like I said, I might steal that record one for this hand plane. Just, yeah. I've got another she's number 4 up there that needs some restoration. Now, I like to go about 1.5 millimetres away from the edge. Some people say, get as close as you can. I say don't. You're more likely to get clogged up if you do that. And also, if you're using the Charlesworth method, you'll find that the plane iron is actually, the grind on the back, or the flattening on the back, tapers off a little bit. That's quite good. So we'll place that back in there like so. Make sure the, can you hear my grandchildren? that the plane iron and the chip breaker aligns nicely like so, and you've got this movement. It's not, you know, if you haven't put in problems like that, right, and you put your lever cap on there, you'll find that the plane iron and chip breaker will be away from the frog. So you've got to make sure it sits in there like so. If your hands that happen, it does. It can actually happen. It's happened to me several times. But I'm aware of it, obviously, so it doesn't usually cause a problem. Now currently, because I've moved that screw here, the lever cap don't want to come down. Now I don't want to force it, because like I said, you can snap it here. Alright? So I just use my fingers or a screwdriver. It's quite loose, this one, so you get in the right position. You need enough pressure to squeeze the actual chip breaker, okay, down onto the back of the plane iron to stop the wood jamming, chips jamming in behind the actual, between the plane iron and the chip breaker. That's quite good, that's good, that's tight enough. Alright, and currently, because that, you know, the thing is, you see, when you take your plane iron out and back in again, it's not going to end up in the same place, you know, as in its depth of cut. It's not, because you might have placed it a little bit further along, or a little bit further down, or a little bit further up within the chip breaker, and the chip breaker is where the adjustment lever engages. You know, that little stirrup here, the little piece that goes behind the knurled wheel, the adjustment wheel. So now I feel that it's pretty good. So I've got a piece of wood. Let's paint a piece of wood. So it's back together again. So anyway, that's how you dismantle the number 4 smoothing plane, which isn't difficult. It's very, very easy. Now I suggest you get yourself a magnetic dish, like one of these, okay? or just a mat, like so. Right, just so you can actually, prevent loss of the components. So they're all iron, you see, so the magnets should stick to it, and generally do. At the moment it's too deep, so retract until there's nothing there. I know. And then, yeah, until you give it engagement. That's probably a bit deep. Oh, that's right. Again, there you go. It's back into usable condition. Anyway, that's how you disassemble Johnny 5. Not Johnny 5, no. Disassemble the Stanley Bailey hand plane. And these are English hand planes. The American ones are pretty much the same, to be fair. Same pattern, quite frankly. They've just evolved over the years. And they are all slightly different. There they are. And that's one way of actually aging hand planes. Now, the English hand planes are harder to age than the American ones. But there you go. That's how it is. And I'm sure we'll live. Anyway, please hit the like button and maybe subscribe to the channel. And the little bell icon, because then you get one basic video in your pocket every time I upload another video. Now, I make a lot of short videos on this channel as well. Maybe you want to check them out as well. And occasionally I do the odd reaction video, which can be a little bit silly. Okay, anyway, it's time for me to go, so say toodaloo, you know, so toodaloo.